There is a perfect example of motherhood out there. We've all felt its presence. It lingers in our social media feed, in the products we buy, the answers to the questions we research. Even though we know it's not real, we feel it spotlight what we could be doing better.
Join two best friends as they step off the stage of motherhood and go behind the scenes with moms from different walks of life.
The Momcult Podcast. Real moms, real talk, real tired. Well, okay, here we are. This is the Momcult Podcast. I am Joy Todd.
And I am Sarah Parker Massey.
And our special guest today is
Jenny Black,
who is my sister.
Hi.
My big sister. Hi. I'm glad you're here. I feel I think I wanted Jenny on the first one too, because if she's somewhere I am, I just immediately feel like I have some sort of like security blanket with me.
That's so
Yeah,
sweet.
she's not my sister, and I feel that way too.
I got your back, girl.
She's 9 years older, which is a big part of that.
Yeah, but it's also her personality is comforting.
Yeah, I agree. So this episode is the first to basically just establish what we're doing, why we're doing it, what we hope to get out of it. No idea how many people will listen to it, but my desire has just stemmed from getting together with mom friends, which, as we all know, is not easy to do. And every time that we do manage to get a group of us together and have a couple drinks and snacks and just get to talk about mom stuff and the hard stuff and the funny stuff, and usually the hard stuff ends up becoming funny stuff because you very quickly realize that everyone has a similar story to the one that you're dealing with. And we all leave just feeling a little bit lighter, ready to, I don't know, rejuvenated, I guess is a good word. And I just remember feeling that I wish more moms could feel this more often. And if this could be an outlet for moms who don't have the time to get out when they need to, that they can just pop in some earbuds and pour a glass of wine wherever they're at and feel like they got some like happy hour time in with their mom friends. So that's why I'm doing this. I don't know why you guys are doing this, but
It's perfect. What she said. Yeah, exactly that. I feel more like myself when I've connected with other women, but especially at this point, another mom, for sure. I feel like understood.
And Jenny is also our guest today because she's going to have a segment at the end of each podcast that kind of gives people some tools and outlets for any sort of hot topics that have come up, depending on who the guest is. She is a marriage and family therapist, and I just thought it would be a nice way to end with something hopeful and useful. But anyways, Jenny, if you want to kind of introduce yourself.
So yes, I'm Jenny Black, and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. But way before I was a therapist, I got to be Joy's big sister, which is one of the very best things I've ever gotten to be.
Obviously.
Way back in the 80s. And I was the first mom of my generation. So I was 23 when I had my first baby.
It's ridiculous.
And, kind of while all my friends were still partying and having a really great fun life. It was really isolating for me. And it's just, I love that we can create worlds now where you can find other moms, whether or not they're in your neighborhood or in this way. So I'm very excited. I feel like I finally figured out how to parent. Now both my kids left home and nobody needs me to parent them.
I'm so glad you have this.
So I do feel like I have perspective. I have a lot of compassion for you guys and what you all have to face, have been through just with COVID. It has redefined parenting, I'm sure, for everybody. but also just you have to face new things with technology that my kids didn't have to face. And I don't know how to help, but I do know that I really care, and I really do have a great deal of compassion and support to offer you guys where you guys are today.
See, don't you wish you could just put her in your purse and carry her around with you wherever you go?
Mm-hmm. She was really tiny, and I put her in my ear.
Oh, yeah. She was the earbud.
Yeah.
What, Sarah, what's the little Jenny in your ear say?
Oh. She laughs at all my jokes.
She thinks you're hilarious. Funny. That is so true. So true.
She laughs at all my jokes. Yeah, just really comforting. Just the energy of you being there is comforting. Anyway, we get it. She's great. She's great.
Nothing's quite so comforting as a little human in your ear.
I was like happy to build her up at the beginning, but now I'm kind of over it.
Right. Yeah. Let's go.
Okay, well, I have an 8-year-old and a 3-month-old. Anyways, I feel like you guys will hear more about me and Sarah's life as the podcast continues, so I don't want us to spend too much time talking about us. I think that'll just come naturally. But so yes, now I have a second daughter now, and she's 3 months old, and we're just getting out of the newborn awfulness. So things are starting to even out a little bit, right as it feels like COVID is starting to even out. The light at the end of the tunnel in both giant areas of my life are kind of happening at the same time. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's where I'm at currently, as in like this week, is, when you feel that light at the end of the tunnel coming, so you start to let your guard down. Like I'm not using the same energy to like stay optimistic and like just push through. It's so right there that I'm just like, I'm done. And it's made me feel really not sad, I'm just exhausted. Mm-hmm. I'm exhausted from nothing being simple. Absolutely nothing is simple, including today. Which is why it was just expected. Like, of course. And the not simple things, they're rolling off my back. I'm not getting irritated or angry. I'm just like, I don't know what a better word than exhausted is. But that's where I'm at this week.
Nice. Thanks for sharing.
There's plenty more where that came from.
I mean, full disclosure, I started getting really nervous that it was going to be my turn like 30 seconds ago. So
she hasn't heard anything you've said.
I have a 20-month-old. And also, I can't ever remember the months. I don't do the month. He may be 21 months.
Right.
The
months thing is not my favorite. It's like once they're 2, then you can stop using months. It's like whenever clothes, when the clothes 3. Stop using months is when you're allowed to stop using months.
Yes. He's gotten really interested in nipples, my nipples and his own. I breastfed to 6 months and
apparently you stopped too soon.
Yeah.
And he really likes like in other parts of life, he likes knobs a lot, so he doesn't really understand.
Are you saying that your nipples are the size of knobs relatively? I just want everybody to be on the same page.
Generally speaking, yes, it would be. Yeah. No.
Did you just look down?
No. I looked at I did. I looked at the knobs on this this audio thing. Yes, and they are. Well, no, they're not actually. They're small and normal.
Yeah, those look about right.
All right.
These knobs. For mine, personally. Well, just so you know, Ava's 8 and she's still very interested in my nipples.
Okay, good. Okay. It's like, and he'll just
with
like
any
reach
great
up
luck,
and
he won't grow out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes. He just reaches up and grabs them like at any time, like, and he'll just like hold on to it anyway. So that's where we're at. My husband's a producer. I'm a graphic designer, and we both work from home. And before I ever met my husband, I had I didn't plan to talk about this, but I had an accidental, just completely unexpected, out of any logical scenario, pregnancy. And I lost That was when I was 20, almost like I think turning 24. And I was going to keep that baby, lost that pregnancy. And that really changed the whole trajectory of my life. So motherhood, I mean, it's always been kind of something that was going to be, I feel like, eventually important to me. But it, at that point, became, I mean, I don't love when people say guidepost, but it really did become kind of a guidepost. And then when Joy had a baby, she's my best friend. I don't know if we've said that.
We haven't.
Big reveal.
By the very believe. And seeing her be a mother and move into that role, and it's just I mean, okay,
so smoothly too.
I mean, you know, it was just really beautiful, and like how you grew and it developed different parts of you. And anyway, enough about that.
No, you can keep going.
Keep going.
Honestly, it felt like you well, just go there, but it you like blossomed.
We have hired Sarah to do the sound effects.
Really, and came into your own in a way. And I feel like, you know, I guess 7 years later, I had Parker Duke as my little boy, and it has, I mean, it changes your life, but I mean, I'm a way better person now, but also like way more tired. So anyway, that is where I'm at.
Nipples.
And blossoming.
Blossoming nipples.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. That was very sweet of you to say.
You're welcome.
I was wondering too, like your thoughts on motherhood, like when you.
It's been so interesting doing this again with so much space in between, and it feels way more natural this time. I like that kind of groove of becoming a mom, that kind of new path that just like drills out of your soul is already open. So when Penny was born, there was just that immediate love that I feel like I felt guilty for not having when Ava was born. I feel like it took me like kind of months to warm up to, oh my gosh, I'm a mom. Okay, that's registering not just in my brain, but like when you say it to people, like it feels so foreign saying it out loud for the first time. And so with Penny, it's just felt way more smooth and effortless. Like I'm just so in love with her. She's so stinking cute, and she's infuriating, and she's very picky, and she's not an easy baby. But then she just like a half smile, and you're like, okay, it's fine.
Yeah.
So I like that I'm getting to be, I remember with Ava feeling like I would see moms being that way with their babies, and I would be jealous, and I would want to be that way with her, but instead I was way more sarcastic and dry. And I still am that way with Penny sometimes, but I'm way more just over the moon for her. Mm-hmm. And so I like that I'm getting a chance to be a different version of a mom than I was with Ava.
Yeah. So I think I was realizing it's kind of fun to think of how old you were when I had my kids.
I was 15.
So you were 15
when Brandon was born. Yeah, I think I was a freshman
in high school. And then you were a senior in high school, or junior in high school when Avery was born. So today my kids are 20 and 21, and my oldest is graduating from college next month. So officially like real life.
Also graduating at 22. Will he be 22 when he graduates?
No, he'll be 21.
That's insane. Is that just what happens when you do college when you're supposed to do it? Like,
yes.
And you just knock out those 4 years back to back at the same school? I don't know of these things.
Is this normal?
How ridiculous.
It took me like 8 years, I feel like.
Yeah.
So real. He did start school early. He went to kindergarten early.
Oh.
But yeah, so it's a very, my son is actually living at home with us his last semester of school, and then my online school, and my daughter lives in Santa Barbara for her freshman year of college. So it's a
whole different
weird
world.
It's the exact opposite of what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's like you spend all these years like sacrificing and surrendering and letting go of your expectations and expecting, like learning how to create your life around this person. And now I'm in the phase where I'm learning how to like, oh crap, again, I just figured it out. Like I just finally
Now
was
you're
like,
trying to figure out how to fill that
you can take over
space.
my whole life. And now they leave and there's just like this gaping hole. Like, okay. And it's not just the gaping hole of like time and energy because I'm still very busy, but it's the gaping hole of like that part, what I keep calling my mom compass that like spins around looking of like, I'm supposed to be like, oh, did you think about this? Have you remembered that? Have you thought about that? Oh, I need to tell them that. Just those like unlearning how.
Right. You're trying to quiet
Yes.
the compass.
Yes.
Like when you want to tell them, like teach them things. Is that what you mean by mom compass?
Maybe.
Edit that out.
I think that's, yeah, I think that's.
Cut it.
I think that's the question is like wondering, oh, wait, when does my opinion matter? When is it time for me
Right.
to
Right.
show up with that? And when is it time for me to like, nope.
Or
let
is
them
it
figure
used to
this
matter
out.
all the time?
Right. And my kids say that I err on the side, believe it or not, that I err on the side of not saying enough because I have so much going on inside of me. I'm like, don't
Don't it all out.
And they're always like, please tell us. So just
Please tell me what you think about my girlfriend.
right.
Should I marry her?
Is that going on?
Well, he doesn't want to get married yet, but he's definitely in a relationship.
Let me kind of throat close up. Thinking about that.
So looking back, what were the hardest ages, do you think? And there can be multiple
You know
spots
what?
along the way.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's no doubt about it. Those first,
couple months.
I mean, really from when my kids, I was fine with my son, just with my son, had her super early. The hardest parts were after she was born, and I had a 2-year-old and a newborn. So from that time until she was 2 and he was 4, I mean, I really feel like I was in some kind of blurry boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
But like when I look back on the whole story, the whole picture of their time as my people, the people that I was growing, I think the hardest time was actually the easiest time, which was when they kind of got on autopilot. And you can see Ava kind of being a little bit in this age group now where you're like, oh, they're good. They're fine. And I feel like that time period was like I was so over being 100% mom.
Right.
I feel like I really pulled back and just kind of let them. I feel like I missed out on some years emotionally. Even if I was there, it was kind of like, yeah, I'd rather be somewhere else. I'd rather be on a trip, or I'd rather be on social media, or one of the things I talk about is I'd rather be Instagramming about how cute my kids are and getting a lot of feedback from people outside of this house.
Right. Well, yeah, when they naturally become self-reliant, you're like, okay, I can go do my own thing now. But at the same time, you're missing out. I've been feeling that with Ava. I've had so much of my attention and time is going into Penny right now that I don't really know what my relationship with Ava looks like right now, because she's also transitioning out of being a kid, and I haven't like found a new groove with her. So I feel a little removed from her right now, and I don't like it, but I also am like, I also don't have the energy to try and fix it, which is also something that I was thinking about with this podcast. Is I feel like it's kind of create some accountability for myself. If there's something that comes up that I'm dealing with and go, oh, well, I've talked about that. I should probably work on finding a solution, or what the progress has been like to, keep that a part of the current story whenever we kind of check in with like, what's going on with you this week? I'm going to want that to be getting better. So I'll have like something that will kind of be pushing me to search for answers. So that's kind of nice. I cut in on you, so I didn't know if, but so besides that, the blur and then the part you feel like you missed out
I guess
on.
what I'm saying is that the less work that my kids were, the more I disconnected from them. Like the more work they were, the more I would like, okay, I'm going to make the best of this. I'm going to have their friends over. I'm going to but then once they got more independent, I kind of felt myself just like, there's lots of good things about it. Like that's when Adam did a lot more stuff. Like most of their memories of that time is with their grandparents and with their dad. So that needed to happen. It's all good. But I think that's interesting because practically their high school years and their toddler years were by far the hardest in terms of all hands on deck, 100% focus and care. And yet I have no regrets about those times.
Right.
Like, because I was there.
Because you were there.
I was there. Mine is that middle time where I feel like, well, quite honestly, I feel like that with my daughter in particular, like she started really getting into YouTube when she was in 5th grade. It was pretty early. It's like the beginning of girls having other girls they could, watch on YouTube and see how they decorated their room or whatever. And I really feel like that a part of that was something I wasn't feeling. And like that has created a relationship with YouTube that is way more bond. It's a bond and it's not just, oh, that's something I watch. It's like, oh, that's where I went when I could find my people and, be safe. And
right.
That's interesting.
That's like when she's at her most happy or something, when you're like, well, that used to be when I was doing something with you. See, I'm like already feeling like, oh gosh, I gotta be better. Well, not in a bad way, not in like these expectations are ridiculous kind of way, but just I have been feeling distant from her and not knowing how to connect with her right now, and getting frustrated that I don't know. And so just this conversation will just make me put some more conscious time into trying to figure that out. Because, social media is already starting to take over her brain. Like, she wants nothing. At first, it was like all she wanted was to be on YouTube, and now it's all she wants is TikTok. And I'm like, this is insane that we're even having this discussion.
Crazy.
And I don't think it's going to get any easier.
It does not seem
anytime
to look that way.
Soon.
I thought I felt anxious just about talking, but now I feel anxious for all other reasons.
All the things. Well, and I do feel like it's important to say, there are really important phases of separation, and like, okay, we're growing in these new ways and we're having relationships with new people outside of this mother-child relationship. And those are hard and important. Mm-hmm. It's not all something else you need to be doing.
Right. I don't know why, for some reason, I was getting dressed and I'm not dressed up at all because what's the point? But there was a pair of earrings sitting on the dresser and I was like, okay, I'll put some earrings on.
It's podcast day.
And not only is that also pointless, but they're just hurting because the headphones just actually, so stupid.
Of all the things.
Jenny, is there anything like to any listeners with younger kids or just anybody in general things that you wish somebody would have told you? Like,
well, yes. So I am happy that I at least have joy going through this phase because it's very easy. The more years you get out, the more you romanticize the earlier years. But I felt this with my kids' teenage years, and I think it's true in every phase of parenting. I think that what your kid needs, like whatever that is, right? They need your attention, or they need to be outside, or they need a nap, or who knows, whatever. They need you to read to them. I've always felt that my kids' needs were separate than my needs. Like, okay, gosh, they need this thing. I need to get back to this. I need to be doing this. But every time that I let myself like just totally be present with my kids and give them what they need, I figured out that it's what I needed too. I have never had anybody tell me that. And that has just continued to be true throughout every phase of development. Like even when I talk about that time where I felt really disconnected from them, that was a time I felt really disconnected from myself. And so being connected with them reconnected, me to myself. So I feel like that taking out of the story of I'm meeting their needs at a sacrifice to my needs and seeing, wait, where are these needs actually my needs too? And we're both, especially as we're coming out of this year, that it's been really traumatic for all of us, but especially for kids. And I think the ways that we're going to heal from it, like all of us need whatever that walk in the neighborhood or reading a book together is like, oh yeah, that's exactly what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's similar to, it's just that constant, I'm feeling it. It's easier this time, doing it the second time, but it's just that constant effort of we're on the same team. We're all on the same team.
Yeah.
And it's just so easy to feel like, I don't know, I'm so exhausted from being defensive when I don't need to be. But when you talking about it with kids, and then that's making me think about with your spouse, just going with the first kid, it definitely felt like we were just, when you're working in shifts, it just creates this environment of like, I'm doing this thing and then you're doing this thing and then I'm doing this thing and then you're doing this thing. And those moments where you feel like you're all doing something together feel pretty rare when you're just taking turns in the beginning so someone can get sleep or someone can go out and record this podcast and, things like that. But it's been, the communication has been way smoother this time because we've already been through it and we remember the pitfalls of the first time that are like, let's try to avoid this time around because it's already really hard. Let's at least have some areas where it can be easier and we can be wiser.
Yeah.
I'm just realizing, Sarah, your family is 20 months old, but Joy's family is 3 months old. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like you've never been this family before.
Like my whole pregnancy feels like it happened in a void. And my brain doesn't know how, like now that the weather is, we're going through weather that the last time we went through it was the beginning of all of this. Mm-hmm. I'll smell what it smells like outside. I'm like, oh yeah, spring. And I'm like, what was I doing last spring?
Totally.
Like, it's the weirdest.
It is.
Yes.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how to there's no place for it to settle in my body.
That is a good way to describe that. Parker started sort of standing up last year at this time. And was it that? I don't know. It's all blending together, but let's just say that's what happened.
Right.
and I just remember it being hot and that time period. Yeah, just it's weird. It feels, and it was like the only thing we could do was go out in the front yard at the time. Yeah, it's just strange. It's a trauma, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, trauma that our brains don't know how to store yet.
Yeah. What do you think about that, Jenny?
Well, I have so many thoughts about it. Thanks for asking, Sarah.
You're welcome.
The World Health Organization, to bring in the big expert,
Ooh.
has
you told me this.
Officially declared that we are we have just survived more trauma than after World War II.
Wow.
And so, yeah, how strange, right? Because it wasn't, we weren't, sending our kids away to war, things that somehow feel like a little bit more
tangible.
Yeah. And more like, oh, that's trauma. We could all agree that was trauma. It's vague. Well,
Yes.
and the very real thing that it affected people so differently. Some people were unaffected. Their lives went on. Their jobs didn't suffer. They didn't have to homeschool kids. And other people lost jobs and lost houses. And so it was really, it has been a very individual experience of this thing we all experienced.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that being said, you guys cannot, you have this paradigm of what it means to be a mom or a parent or what your kids are supposed to do or not do or whatever. You can't help it. You've got it in there. It's in your consciousness, and it's what society has told you, this is what it means to be a good mom or whatever. We're going to have to really let go of some of that. maybe all of it, and tune into ourselves and our kids and be like, hey, are you okay? Am I okay? What do we need to be okay today? And that's the work. That's what you have to do. No more than that, no less than that. Mm-hmm. And it's new. No, you don't have any generation ahead of you able to say, oh, when my kids were that age and we went through the pandemic, this is what we found out.
There's no guidebook for this.
Zero.
And you add technology to that, which is also still pretty new as far as your kids being raised with the access that they have now.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you want to talk at all about a little bit about your work with that. If that sounds
okay, I'll
too
just
boring
say a
to
little bit. So my work is around a topic that we call media trauma, which is basically how our use of technology intersects with our mental health. And we've been studying and working and writing and creating things based on this before the pandemic. But the pandemic turned it into a whole different, it was like, one of my friends said, it was like we put fast forward on the technology button about 5 years ahead of time. So we hadn't really gotten, from my generation of kids to your generation of kids, there should be some repairs that are made. We've already learned about the harms of this, and we would do things differently if we could go back in time, knowing how things turned out and how the technology developed. We should have been able to get that information fast enough to you all and to pass laws and to make things different so that your kids, there's just no reason your kids should go through the same thing my kids went through.
Right.
Because we've already learned. We know. However, the pandemic has just
escalated.
I mean, so fast, lightning speed. And so now you guys are unfortunately dealing with things we didn't have to deal with till our kids' high school experience that y'all are dealing with in elementary school. And quite honestly, Sarah, even little people, even making that decision of when does my little guy have their own iPad and when do I let them watch and what? So we are working as quickly as we can just to get some education out about that and for parents to have some realistic guidelines for how that should function in their life and how to know when what's going on with their kid is connected to their technology use.
Well, and we're lucky because we don't have to wait till your book is published. We can be getting the information as you're getting the information.
You get it straight from here. Only the really lucky ones.
Straight from the source. So if you want to know how to solve the problem of media trauma with your children, which we all do, tune in to the Momcult Podcast.
Yes.
But one of the ideas that Sarah and I had for just something like light and potentially funny to do during the podcast would be like a tiny segment. Don't know what we call it yet. I think we were saying like maybe just pop culture with.
I was saying pop culture corner, but I think that's
pop culture corner.
But I'm saying it still.
Okay, pop culture corner it is. You write that down.
My whole desk is shaking.
But for those of you that don't know Sarah, she has some struggles with telling a story, just like a flat line beginning to end story. There's like 8 million tangents and then like a lot of sorries and then a lot of I don't remember how I got to this. Wait, what was I talking about? And I'm the one who's like keeping her on track. So we thought it would be a fun little test to give her 1 minute to tell us something that's going on in pop culture. Because I feel like there's things that you watch or that you know about, whether it's like with fashion or reality TV or what your guilty pleasures are that I don't know about. So it'll be you telling me something I don't know that you only have 1 minute.
Okay, can I say something that's an intro?
Yeah.
An intro first. I'm so excited. And I care like 0% if this ever is part of it. I just am so excited to be able to share any piece of this. Although I'm just going to put my husband on blast, but he really honestly engages in like all of the, well, I mean, we would, no, I'm not gonna say, but
Sorry.
he's really,
Be careful.
he gets into all these shows too. So I do get to share that with him. But
that's
my
fun.
point, what I was going to say is, just as part of an intro, is that most of what I guess I would talk about is like real or Bravo related reality shows. I mean, I haven't anyway, but
Well, I figured it's win-win. The people like me who have no idea what you're going to talk about.
right.
That's just entertaining to watch you struggle.
Yeah.
And then for the people that do know what you're talking about, I think they'll just think it's hilarious because they'll know where the story should be going or what you should have told us by now and how it ends.
Yeah. And I cheated this time because I thought this through and I already know what I want to say. So I practiced earlier.
All right, you can give us the topic before
You're going to do the timer?
Yeah,
okay,
I got
that's
the
fine.
timer.
Okay, 1 minute is really fun. Okay, the topic is, so you may or may not have seen, okay, on Bravo. Dang it, okay. Okay. Wait. There's a new show, Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and one of the most polarizing characters was Jen Shaw. She and her husband was a coach, and he was great. And she was always getting really mad and aggro. And it turns out that the reason that she was getting mad is because, I mean, not maybe the only reason, she probably had some problems too. And it seemed like there were a lot of things that were uncertain, but that she is the kingpin of a fraud.
20 seconds.
Thank you. Okay. Of a fraud scheme that defrauds the elderly, and some of them are rich and some of them weren't. And it's really sad. Not to bring it down, but
You got 5 seconds to bring it back up.
defrauding the elderly, and she was arrested on the show.
Wow. Sarah, congratulations.
That's pretty, I feel like I learned something.
I do too.
Okay, so Jen Shaw, 2 names, first, last name. Her husband's, I think you said, okay,
Coach
nice.
Shaw. He seems really nice, but I question it.
Okay.
And she's the kingpin of this. Like, they would sell old people stuff.
You can't talk about it anymore.
Oh, I thought
what are
you
you
were
doing?
asking questions. Okay, sorry.
Jenny and I were going to rehash what we learned from that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that.
That reminds me of I Care a Lot. Is that
Yes. Yeah.
Right. It is like
Right.
that. Everybody's comparing it to that. Yes.
Oh, see?
Look at
Wow.
us. Wow.
And you portrayed that in such little time. Good for you.
Yeah. I'm sweating. Are you sweating?
I a little bit because I was laughing. I got like salty tears. I got like sweat tears in my eyes from laughing at you try to do that.
Yeah. That was so fun.
Can't wait till next time.
Can't either.
We don't even ever have to put it in. Just let me do that.
Do we feel like there's anything else that we need to cover in this first episode?
I felt good, but do we get a WWJD? Or was that her?
I feel like that is more for when we start having guests, and that'll be like a segment at the end. Because we kind of got...
You got so much of me today.
We got her talking about
Right. So in the future,
all
you're
useful
gonna have
things.
a segment from... Did you already say that? Did you already say in the second? Yeah, you did. But I don't know if you said it was WWJD, which I love.
Yes, it is. WWJD, what would Jenny do?
What would Jenny do at the end where Jenny, who you now also love, is going to give us advice and tips and comfort us. So really that will then eventually engulf this podcast.
Right. It'll just become her podcast.
What would Jenny do is spend a Tuesday night with Sarah and Joy because they make her feel so good about herself.
But also we really are. We're giving Jenny... Jenny's going to be in everybody's pockets who listens. So that's exciting.
I love that.
That's exactly what we want.
Yeah.
Yes, we're just trying to create an outlet for you,
Thank
to
you,
reach
guys.
the masses.
Yes. I mean, to be honest, I don't really give a shit if anybody listens to this. I love it.
Yeah. This is the best day of my life
I'm in.
a really long time.
I was fully having a panic attack earlier, but I feel great now.
Well, you know, what I've learned in acting class is that when you're nervous, it just means you're about to do something exciting. Something that excites you.
See,
Something
there's the WWJD right there.
Nervousness just means you're about to do something that is very important to you. That's a better way to say it.
That makes sense.
And so that's something that they teach us to help us not let our nerves affect our performance, but instead to like translate it into like, oh, I'm only nervous because this is important to me and I'm excited about it. And instead of letting it turn into fear.
Right.
So that's cool. The Momcult Podcast has been brought to you by the We Own This Town network. So a big thanks to Michael Eads. You can look his network up on www.weownthistown.net. Also a big thanks to Mackenzie Moore for our brand design and Gabe Pig for our theme music. And our guest, Jenny Black, my big sister today, for joining us with all of her wisdom. And to all of you listeners out there, tune in next time.